how many years have you been keeping bees now?
Two.
Two. Okay. Greg's going to be speaking a little bit about an event that his son Collin and him recently went and did some teaching. If you're a first-year beekeeper, I mean, I was pretty amazed. Like my second year, I'm answering questions. People are coming to me like I'm Obi-Wan Kenobi, you know? And you know, but you know things. There is a certain amount of assistance you can give a first-time person. You can help them with introducing a package. So we're just trying to create an all-inclusive club. So without further ado, Greg was supposed to speak in December, and we had too many things going on, so I'd love to hear about the event that you and Collin participated in.
Thanks. So, those of you that I don't know, my name's Greg. I live in Collin, second-year beekeeper. My son Collin and I have really kind of jumped in head first. Our first season, quick recap, started with 2 colonies. Thought we were doing everything right until we got to about February and realized that that was not the case. Anybody that's been keeping bees has had that intro, and sometimes that can be a rude awakening. Without good support, it can be tough. And I'm not gonna lie, after that first season, I was kind of questioning whether or not I should continue or not. Luckily, got to meet guys like Alan and Jerry, Dale, Mike in the back, that were just, and Floyd too, that were real supportive and helped us out and encouraged us to get started again. We started this past season with 2 additional colonies. I figured, well, if I go with 4, maybe I'll get 2 through. Well, by the end of this first season, we went from 4 colonies up to 12. We had a couple that were smaller than others, so we condensed down, went into winter with 9, and we still got 8 going strong as of last Saturday. So we're pretty excited, pretty optimistic. And so we're really excited about it, and so we're looking at finding different ways to share. Leads us to, we had an opportunity, a friend of ours is a grade school teacher in Illinois, and she happened to be teaching a section on bees. And she had come over this past summer, saw the bees, and at first she walked back and then saw how many bees there were and just didn't really want a whole lot to do with that. Until Collin and I went out there, and we put her in her hood and took her out and eased her into it and realized that there's nothing to be afraid of. This is a really cool thing. So this is what we put together and shared with this grade school class, which I thought was kind of cool. Oop, hope I didn't go too far. So we put a little slideshow together for her to go through. So this is my son and I beginning of last season, going through with packages. We were part of Jake's first order. So the day we received the bees, it was 34 degrees outside. Anybody else was on that?
Where'd them bees come from?
Georgia.
Well, it was warm there too.
So yeah, and I can tell you, they weren't happy. So we went through, and I'm fortunate that I've got a heated barn and back in the workshop area. So we had our 4 packages and packages for a friend that we were able to set the hives up and at least keep it up around 45, 50 degrees. We put feeders on. We had them screened in, and I was praying that I wasn't going to walk out to my barn and have a whole bunch of bees inside that I didn't know how to deal with. But it worked out pretty well. So this whole slideshow was kind of aimed at this first grade class. So it was really kind of a neat experience.
And if you can't feel comfortable talking to first graders, there we go. So we were going through, and a little video segment here that we were able to pop for them. How many people can identify the queen? How many people can? That's okay. So what are some of the traits that you look for that are going to differentiate between the queen and the rest of the workers? Bigger abdomen. Yep, longer abdomen. Okay. What's going to differentiate the worker and the queen from the drones? What do you look for?
Big eyes.
Yep, big eyes. Excellent. So in going through, you guys notice the abdomen here? Can everybody see her now? The kids thought that was the coolest thing. So, then the kids were all excited about they're like, you know, why do we see, there was one kid especially who said they had bees in a shed they had out back. And he happened to be out there when it swarmed. And he said, oh, they were going to swarm and they were going to attack us. So they didn't know what a swarm was. So we talked about it a little bit. So those of you that don't know, a swarm is not the bees coming to attack you, but it's a way that they naturally reproduce, typically, unless there's an issue with the colony and they're absconding, but that's a whole different thing. Typically, and what you're gonna have in a swarm is 50% of the colony is gonna take off with the old queen, and they're gonna go find a new place because there's already enough stores. They've already gone through and laid some queen cells so that they'll have a new queen with the existing hive, and so the swarm is not the new hive, but it's actually the old queen. The new colony with the new queen is actually in the existing. The one thing you have to watch for with swarming is sometimes depending on how many queen cells are laid, there can be what they call after swarms. And if there's, especially if there's a time gap in when the queen cells or the eggs for the new queens are laid and when they're capped, that staggering can go through, and then each new queen can sometimes keep going, and then they'll take half of what's left, and then half of what's left. Next thing you know,
You swarm your hive out.
yeah, you're swarmed out. So the cool thing is we got letters from 22 different students, which was pretty awesome from a first grade point of view. So all these kids were writing us letters going through, and they would talk about one thing they learned on the initial, and then we would go through and we ended up answering all of the letters of the individual kids. And they got a real kick out of us just posting letters up because now they felt all important because they got to see that somebody took the time not just to answer them individually, but to make them part of the show. So, so you can take a look here what we were talking about going through. Some of the questions we have, or how many bees do you have? So the colonies that we have, we were all running real robust last year, so around 40 or 50,000 per hive. And then we had our couple of nukes for the sport colonies, run around 10 to 15, about 3 to 4 pounds of bees. So the reality is, when they found out that I said I had 250,000 bees in my backyard, they all looked at me like I was a little nuts. But it's a pretty cool thing. There we go. Whoop. So, and then another cool thing that we got to do is we went through and to make this interactive, again, because they're first graders, so attention spans are short, so you got to keep them engaged. So we told them if they did really good, we were going to have a honey tasting at the end. Granted, Illinois schools especially, I had to get permission slips signed off by every parent in advance and blah, 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 to make sure we weren't poisoning kids and allergy issues or what else. But we went through all the headache, we got it, and everybody got approved. Cool thing is, we actually had a contest also. So we had a couple different white honeys, we had a couple of darks. So Greg Clapp is actually a guy that I do bees with, also lives in Couts. He's unable to make it tonight. And yeah, so out of the 4 different, they did 4 different rounds. Oh, I'm sorry, 2 different classes. So in the first class, or morning class, they went through and Greg ranked first and third between the 2 classes. And I got second and second, so I guess it averaged out, we're about the same. He didn't beat me, so we're good. And then for the dark, Eric, I know Eric's in the room here, because he gave me a sample for going out and seeing him. So we had some of Eric's dark honey. He took third and first, but actually, and then when Al and I went to the fall conference this year for the state, we got in on the auction at the end and we bought the prize champion dark. And actually, that came in last for all the kids, so the kids like the lighter honey. But Eric, overall, when we tallied the total number of votes between both classes, you actually beat us all. So, excellent job on your fall honey. It was fantastic. But little things like this, you don't, like Alan said, this is our second season. And a first year, someone who's gotten through one whole season has a world of information more than someone who's never been in a hive. And something that we've all talked about in wanting to build this club is 1 or 2 people can't be a mentor to 50 people in a room. There's just not the amount of time. So there's somebody sitting next to you or someone else in this room that you guys can be an asset for each other, and we can all help build this program. And that's what we want to do with this club. So just an example, to the first graders, they thought we were rock stars, and they were amazed that my 11-year-old son could go through and speak on this. So the biggest thing is enjoy what you're doing. That's why we're all here. We're all excited. We all want to learn more. Find someone else that you're getting excited about this with, that you're at a similar stage, or maybe someone that's a little ahead of you, or if you're ahead of some of us, they'll bring us up to that level too. We've all got a lot to learn, and we're all going to be more productive if we do it together. Same as our colonies. Thanks.